Our first introduction to animation is going to be using the function of random. Random is a number generator, and we can control the numbers that it's going to take from by giving it some arguments. And then every time it cycles through the draw, it's going to take a different number, which can give us the end result of a generative art piece or something that's just moving on its own without any interaction, such as this one past an example. So random, adding a little spice, and we'll talk about how you can use frame rate to adjust the speed. So first of all, I want you just to see how random works, and we can talk about the console in processing and how you can use that to see what numbers random is generating. So I have just a basic setup here, set up with size 200, 200. And in my draw, I put this text print ln, that is a small l, and that stands for print line. And the argument I gave it is the function random, and random takes its own argument, and I gave it the argument of 100. All right, so, and then it has a double parenthesis here. This is for the whole argument, and this one is specifically for just that 100. So let's put this into processing. I'd like you to be following along and doing the same thing. And when I press play, so I don't care about the screen, what I'm looking at is down here, the console, the numbers that it's giving me. So a couple of things to notice is I'm getting numbers that all stay under 100, and they're all decimals. So that will become relevant later on. Just make note that they are not whole numbers, but they're decimal numbers. All right, so this is what random's doing. Every time it loops through the draw, it's picking out a different number that is anywhere from 0 to actually 99.9. It never will give us 100. All right, so that's one way that you can work with random, is giving it just one argument. That's what we did here. The argument we gave it was just the highest number, right? So it starts at 0 and it goes up to whatever this one argument is. But what if we don't want it to go down to 0? What if we want it to be within a range? So I could give it two arguments, a low number and then a high number. All right, so I'll just go back to my processing sketch, and this time let's say 50, to 100. Press play, and now this time I'm getting a range of numbers, and they're not going below 50. So it's 50 to 100. Okay, I can stop that. So we're obviously going to use random in our sketch. We're not going to be just having it in a print ln. Where can we put it? Well, anywhere there's a number. And where do you have numbers? Everywhere. Okay, so you could have a random for the colors in your fill, in your stroke, in your shape, for movement, and all different kinds of places. We're going to start off with just putting random in for color. So random for colors. If I take my fill, and I have in my fill red, green, and blue, and I substituted all three of these for random 250, I'm going to get something incredibly spazzy. All right, so I'm just going to copy this. All right, so I have this fill, and I put all three of them at really at random, and so all three of them are going to go from 0 to 250. Let's see what we get. Oh yeah, so it's cycling through. So every time I'm getting a different combination. Sometimes my red might be 100, my green might be 50, my blue might be 250. Every time it cycles through, all three of these pulls up a different color. Okay, so generally that's not very nice looking, and you know, it can cause a seizure too. No one really likes that. So if you're going to use random for color, we need to control it a little bit. First of all, maybe it's just for one of the colors. So let's just cycle through red. I'm going to put these instead at 100. And so now only the red channel is random. And it's still very spazzy because when this is 0 and this is 100, 100, I'm getting a really dark color. And my green and blues will stand out. So the other thing I can do is put in a range for this one color. So maybe I'll put in like 175, comma, 250. And now at least it's staying within the reds. Here's the next thing that you can do to help with the spazziness. Control the frame rate. So I'm going to put the frame rate, because it's something that's not going to change, in my setup. Frame rate. No space, R is capitalized. And the default frame rate is 60 frames per second, I believe. Yes, 60 frames per second. So I'm going to slow it down. Let's see it at 15 frames per second. You can only have one frame rate per sketch. People often ask me, like, can I change the frame rate throughout? No, it's just one per sketch, and that's why it goes in the setup. Okay, and so now it's a much smoother, slower, pulsing change of color. And you could change that, you could make that frame rate even lower. Make it down to 5. Something like that. And so now with the frame rate lower, maybe if you want to get more colors, you could put in another random. Maybe in my greens, I'll just do random 75 to 100. Okay, and so now it's cycling through these different color combinations that I'm getting. And if you could adjust this down even to 1. I have a very slow frame rate now. It's more like a stop motion animation. We're just clicking through. Okay? So I want you to practice this and then show me. Create a sketch that has 3 different shapes in it. Make each shape have its own random colors, but don't let it get too spazzy. I don't want anything that would provoke a seizure. And don't just work on the fill. For one of them, put the random on the stroke. Okay? And then show me what you've got.